Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Freeman Files here on the J Free 906 showgram. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. Tom Burns, Seth, how you guys doing?
Great.
Doing good.
Great.
Talking Oak Island.
Great.
Can't be bad.
Oak Island. Back in the home studio again. It feels good to be back in the home studio. Hopefully the internet will be good and not like it was all breaking up the last few weeks, but yeah, hopefully it's dang it, it's frozen.
Jeff, you in there? Jeff, you in there?
Yeah, Jeff, we can't hear anything. You're breaking up.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, it's good. The weather is, not as nice as where I was in Florida, but well, it'll get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll get better as spring goes along. Thank you, folks, for joining us here tonight. We are going to be talking to Curse of Oak Island, season 12, episode number 14. We are now over the hump of halfway through the season, it appears. And it's called Sinking In. We'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. I did want to talk of just a moment about the giveaway that we're going to be doing tonight. I'm bringing that up, that picture here real quick. And it is this right here. There's two things.
Ooh.
It is the book from the Jerusalem Files. That is the Jerusalem Files from Corian Mole and Christopher Morford. An awesome book. If you have not read it, you really should. It's a great book about the path of the menorah all the way from Jerusalem to Oak Island and maybe beyond. And it comes with sticky notes, so you can. Those are courtesy of Tom Burns.
You gotta have sticky notes.
Nice.
Can't do anything without sticky notes.
You got to have your sticky notes. Yep,
Right? They're a given.
I know my copy of that book has got all kinds of sticky notes in it, and also I guess that's a metal sign. That is from Michelle Tomeyer. It's the Curse of Oak Island. I think it's a painted metal sign of some sort.
Cool.
Yeah, and now I'm at I've forgotten who donated the book. Linda will probably type it in for me because she knows I'm fumbling around trying to remember who it was. But anyway, we got those for giveaways tonight. We'll be doing that in just a little bit, and we'll kind of explain during that whole process about what the giveaways, how that works, and how you can get to be enter for that as we go along here tonight. So, as always, folks, if you like the content of our show, we do here for you tonight. Please give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that very much. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. We'd love that. And, it gives us more subscribers and it gets out the message to more and more places as to what we do here. So we appreciate all of you showing up. And also tomorrow night, Brian Brian O'Real donated the book. So thank you, Brian. Appreciate that very much. Let's see. For those of you who like Expedition Bigfoot, we're going to have 2 episodes we're going to cover tomorrow night. That's episodes 6 and 7. We assume there's 8. Don't know for sure, but we'll be covering those tomorrow night.
Only 8? Dang.
Mike going. What's that?
Sorry, only 8?
Yeah, I guess.
It doesn't seem like enough, does it? It seems like they could be out there longer.
They're just now getting going. This whole season's been great, and I didn't mean to interrupt your flow there.
No,
but
I watch it too here in Canada. It's on the same night in Canada, so I watch it here too. It's good. It's really good.
You're welcome to join us tomorrow if you want, Seth.
Okay, I'll get back to you on that because I have thoughts, and I would love to join if I can.
All right, good. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow night, and and as we go every Wednesday night, we'll be talking about the Curse of Oak Island all the way through the end of the season. If you haven't seen it already, you really need to go back and check out the show we had just was it 2 weeks ago now with the Terry Matheson, Laird Niven, and Steve Guptill, and the 3 of us were there. We had an awesome time with those guys. The Money Pit kind of stole the show for the most part. We got Laird in toward the end a little bit to talk about some archaeology stuff, and Laird dropped a little bit of a bombshell for us on that show. If you guys were here to hear that, folks.
And there was a great song too.
Oh, a great song! Yes.
Oh, yes.
I can't tell you guys how many mornings I'm watering the yard and I'm singing "Take It to the Bedrock." Like, it's good.
You did an incredible job on it.
Yeah,
you really did.
I cannot hear that song any other way now.
No,
Take it to the bedrock one more time. Give me some gold or something.
Fantastic vocals.
Anne Marie from Germany.
Great music video. Everybody
There's
has
Anne Marie.
Anne
Thanks for your help
Marie.
today, Anne Marie. Trying to translate some stuff. Thanks for your help.
Hang out to the end of the show if you can stay up that long. I know it's like 4 a.m. for you, Anne Marie, but we've got something we'd like you to translate. Some German. We think it's German.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, she's already looked at it for me today.
Oh, well, good. There you go.
Yep.
See?
And that's the translation that we have so far.
Ah, fantastic.
Fair enough for her to make out
You're already
everything,
in
so,
communication with her.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's get started. As I said, sinking in. And as I did with the thumbnail tonight, I was talking a little bit about the caisson and the collapse that's going on in the money pit. Man, I could this have been a tragedy, or could it be a sign of something good? We'll kind of dive into that a little bit tonight as we go along. We're going to start right there in the money pit. As they were going along, Jared from Rock Equipment Company called Vanessa over and was saying, "Hey, the pressures are dropping. They're dropping away. We don't have any pressure. I mean, the caisson is practically falling. We don't even have to oscillate it. We can just push it down and it just keeps on going." That could be a good thing, like going into a vault or something.
Yep.
I think
Yeah,
that
because it wasn't working itself into the ground. It was just falling.
Yeah.
Going straight. It was sinking, basically.
It was sinking. Is that really soft? I think she said something about a sand or really soft material.
Yeah.
That it was going through.
Keep in mind that caisson, if it's where we think it is over where previous caissons were. So there's going to be backfill in there.
Yeah.
That's what I was feeling like. I felt like it was probably our own or their own backfill that they're getting through.
Could very well be.
Yeah. And Vanessa said, well, it's kind of expected. It's kind of like Swiss cheese down there.
Yeah,
exactly. That's very, very true. Yeah, we're going to show that here in just a second too, because you'll see what I'm talking about, or what they're talking about with that aspect. You see what comes out of it, what was coming out of it, every hammer grab. And again, we have to always mention too that we don't know if the hammer grab or some of the scenes that we're seeing from that Prometheus put together for this program, for this episode, is exactly in the order of true, that they went in, that they were filmed in. Sometimes they grab scenes from different things and put them in there because it looks a little better or whatever. So we have to always think about that and remember that, the timeline might not be exactly the way we're seeing it in the scenes that were. Did I explain that properly? I don't know.
Yep.
Hopefully that came out okay. All right. So here you see this is the area of interest now, this big brown circle. And then you see the TB1, True Believer 1 caisson.
Right Tom Burns one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tom Burns 1. Yes. That's the Tom Burns 1's caisson. And Tom was dropping. He was definitely dropping.
I was sinking. I had that sinking feeling.
Yeah, that sinking feeling. That's a country song, isn't it? No, anyway. So here it is. I decided to do this real quick just to kind of show and I've been kind of trying to orient things off of the garden shaft a little bit and taking a line off the fence. That's like the only thing. And now, again, this is a drawing from Prometheus. And we don't know how true to the way things are laid out is this. But if you try your best to take a line off of there, there's TB1. That's the one we're looking at now. It's way over there. A lot of people have asked that question. We know that there was one left in the ground at the end of the season. Is TB1 the one that was left in the ground? I'm saying I don't believe so. And the reason I say that is because it was over there on the northwest side of the line coming from the garden shaft. If you angle it off the garden shaft. The one down below, you see in red, down below the garden, that line is what I'm thinking is the one that was left in the ground, roughly in that area. Doesn't have to be right there, but somewhere in this line is where that one is that got left in the ground. So it's not this one, as far as I can tell. I could be completely wrong, but I mean, based upon what I'm seeing, it doesn't look like that's the one. So I wanted to point that out as we go along here, because a lot of people have asked that, and I wanted to kind of see what I could come up with on it. If you remember that, I think it was E.75, 5.6, where this caisson kind of went in that spot. They had found a lot of material down there. At about 150 feet or so, they found some these beam material, all this wood you see here laying on the table. They felt like they had definitely gone into the chapel shaft or chapel vault, the chapel vault area. They were really feeling like, is that the kind of impression you guys got?
Yeah.
Confidence level is super high. Like you can read it on everybody as they're on the ground next to the caisson being driven in. Like I could feel it. Like this feels like I've never seen the brothers and team this confident.
Yeah.
Just in their like body energy.
I really believe this is, and I agree with, and you look at all the spaces and all the spots, and you heard what Steve Guptill was talking about and how confident he was with this particular spot.
Yep.
Yeah, and the concrete material.
Back is right next to C1. So
yeah, and we know it's down at the bottom of C1, right? That caisson is still there, or lining, which we found out about last week. I didn't know that they actually had a liner they could put down and take the caisson.
Yeah, that was neat. Yeah.
That was cool information right there.
Oh,
yeah. Will they do that on any of these? Was that done on the one that's left in the ground? Is that what that is a liner? I don't know. It looks awfully thick, but I don't know how thick a liner is. I really have no idea. But here's one of the pictures that I wanted to show, and it kind of goes back to what Tom and Seth were just talking about. Look at the material that was dumped out by the hammer grab.
Yeah, that's backfill.
That's backfill material.
Yep.
That is not in situ.
No.
That would be coming up through there at all in any sense of the word. So I thought about this quite a bit, thinking, is it possible that they could be in a void or something like that? Or like Tom said, is it a lot of backfill from I don't know. We really simply don't know what's down there, I guess. I was hoping it was a void because, as that collapse has happened, it's going somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Like that's what kind of confuses me is like, where is it going? Certainly they put enough. Is it just going into our own recent drill holes? Is it going into a cavity? And is the moving around of backfill and whatever other material underground large enough to cause the tremors, or are the tremors like collapses of tunnels and stuff? Because I don't know, it kind of confuses me. Like what?
Yeah,
or is it just material, or I don't
know. I wonder sometimes if the tremor, if it's grinding on something, and it's a vibration coming up. If the teeth are grinding on something.
Oh, yeah, that's a very good point there too. And that's what I was hoping as they got a little deeper. But as we go along here, thank you, I Am Joy, by the way. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's really kind of you. When they got to about 95 feet, that's when Rick arrives, and Vanessa tells the group that they are at about 95 feet. And for the last 4 feet or so, the casing has gone very easily. It's been going right, just falling through this material. She then tells them, like we mentioned earlier, it's not even oscillating. The casing just is dropping in. Rick asks what that means. Vanessa tells them that they're very likely in soft material, something. And then she says something like a void, maybe even. So is it a void? We don't know. Is it just soft material? But you see what's coming out of the hammer grab. Almost every, pull is, that we saw. And again, I go back to that thing saying, are we seeing these in sequence? Sure, for sure, that Prometheus is showing us. We don't know.
No.
Then they found at that about 100, about 100 feet down, they got these wood. They started to get wood. You can see it hanging out of the hammer grab right there.
Yeah.
All the pieces of wood.
That's a lot of wood.
It is. It really, truly is. And they start dumping it out here on the ground. But again, you see the cobble in there. There's a lot of cobble with it. But here's the interesting part about this wood. Some of the interesting things about it. Dowel pinned together.
Yep.
Not using any kind of nails or anything, but dowel pinned together. There's another picture of a dowel pin holding right where his thumb is. That's a dowel pin right there holding things together, or was. And you got the Roman numerals as well.
Yep.
Where have we seen that before? And they mentioned this on the show last night. That we saw that down in Smith's Cove.
Smith's Cove, the U-shaped structure. Yep.
Yeah, definitely on the U-shaped structure. There's another picture of it there. This is with the pictures where Dan Blankenship had dug it up and took a look at it. These are they mentioned this on the show last night, and we talked about that U-shaped structure. What could that thing have been for? What was it built for? And they showed this last night, which I don't know that they've I think it's been kind of mentioned that maybe it had something to do with blocking off the water so they could build the flood tunnels in the first place. Is that possible? Sure. Yep. Why not?
Well, yeah, if that was a seawall and those planks were coming up off that seawall.
Yep.
right? You line it with mud or whatever. And oh yeah, that just because that's all you see that's remaining is, a couple of logs at the bottom. It could have been much taller than that.
Absolutely. Yep. It definitely could. And
Hmm.
and you see where it is, and it's definitely making that U shape around there, blocking. It was doing something. I mean, otherwise, what would it have been for? It's not the foundation of something. It's not like
No.
a building was sitting there,
Well, it's
or
on an angle,
and it's on an angle, right?
right? Seawalls are built on an angle.
If it was blocking off water, like, would they? I'm like, why did they leave it? Wouldn't they have to remove it?
I don't know. Maybe
Or
they
is this
did
just
part of
like
it.
Maybe they
that's
just
just
knocked
the
off the
bottom
top.
of it?
Yep,
Okay, that
they
makes
just knocked
sense.
off the
The
top
parts
of
that
it.
they drove in, these stakes right here might be driven. These ones that are, here
Mm.
and here and here, those might be driven down in the ground. I don't know.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we weren't there to see all that.
I remember that was such an impressive structure, just huge.
Mm.
Like when they gave you the size of the the big hammer grab, not
Yeah.
hammer grab, but the
What
crane
was the Roman numeral on the structure down there? Was it a V or an IV or VI or what was it?
Right
it
here.
was like, yeah,
Right
it
there.
was
So my
fours.
question is, are those grooves the same size as the ones on the one they pulled up from the money pit?
That'd be
Those
interesting to
looks
find out, wouldn't it?
They look smaller, but the beam sizes themselves look similar.
Right.
Like when they were that beam that we're looking at right now, that looks like the one that they put on the table in the money pit and say, this is the oldest wood we've seen in the money pit.
Yep.
The reason I say that is, could both of the sources of lumber be the same place?
That's what I'm hoping they find out. They did take samples of this wood from the structure. We remember they did that. I can't remember the date that they put on it. Maybe they did remove it part because that it was enough of a seawall to block anything, right?
Yep.
It wasn't. It was not enough of
Now, was that
seawall to block
U-shaped structure put together with wooden dowels or
Yes,
iron spikes?
wooden dowels. And there's one of the
So
holes right there.
that suggests to me that if something was dismantled to do all that construction work there, like when you build a barn or any sort of a big structure, they build all the pieces, mark them, and then they take them in and put them up, right? And that's how you know where, just like a numbered puzzle, where the pieces go. So could those be connected to what they just pulled out of the money pit? Could they have come from the same? Was the same if they tore down a ship or whatever? Somebody built a ship, you'd have to mark the pieces to put them in.
Yes.
Right. The person,
Sure.
the shipbuilder would mark the pieces.
Yeah. As they cut them, they mark them so they know where the assembly guys
How
know
it's supposed to go back together. Yeah.
Exactly. Same thing with sending timbers down on the ground.
Yeah.
They go back
So
together. Thank you, Craig, by the way.
are the numbers just coincidental? That they were off of something that was numbered?
No. I think it has to do with the assembly, and so it's the IKEA assembly instructions.
No, the numbers are definitely purposeful. There's no question about that.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, if those numbers were off the same structure, off a ship or a boat or a vessel, so that lumber was used in two places when they disassembled it. So it connects the money pit to the swamp or to the Smith's Cove.
Right. Right. That's a good point. Since Tony Sampson said that the shoals would prevent any large vessel from getting too close, the U-shaped structure is no longer likely to have been slips for repairing ships. They did have that slipway in there.
There is a slipway there. Yeah.
But that was down on the end of it, on the north or northwest end of the Smith's Cove. But that would have been for bringing in a small, what'd you call those boats?
Barges.
Well, barges or
dories. Yeah.
Dories. That's it. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Dories.
I was thinking dinghy. Is that a dinghy boat thing?
But those slipways can be hundreds of feet long, depending on the tide and where you put them.
Yep, absolutely. And that one was pretty long. Yeah, they actually remember they put the bump out in there and everything too.
Yeah, or a scow. Yep. Bill says a scow. Yep.
A scow. Yep. Skiffs. Yeah. Those small little boats. You guys, tenders. Exactly. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Chicken tenders.
The way
gravy.
Now I got to go eat.
Right. Yeah. Someone didn't have dinner.
Kentucky Fried Chicken right into the potatoes and the gravy. Just stick it right in there. Yeah. If they had brought in the 10-foot cans, would have made it more stable. I don't know.
That's a good question.
Maybe
more stable or less stable
or less. Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. Thank you, Tim. Tim Glant, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you guys very much. It really helps a lot to keep this going. I appreciate it. Thank you. But as you see in this picture, U-shaped structure had the same markings, similar markings, and also used dowel pins instead of nails or anything like that to hold it all together. So,
hard to say. Maybe they were constructed around the same time.
Yep. And you can see here, this is one of the ones laying on the table there with the guys under the tent, and it has, you can see the dowel hole right there, half of it in that piece right there. So same kind of thing. Now, hopefully they did do dendril and all that on those pieces that were from the U-shaped structure and the slipway. And undoubtedly they're going to do these. So hopefully we can get that information. If we don't get it on the show, then we're going to bring Terry and those guys back on the show, and they're going to tell us. After the episodes are over and the season's over, we got to get them back and have them tell us what was the age. Did the age match up between these two places, the timbers in these two places? Important questions we got to know. Then we had the terrible collapse.
That was kind of scary.
Yeah. And this was about the time that they got to 117 feet. Then the next day, TB1 reached down to 147 feet. Jared tells Vanessa that the pressure is getting very high, like they are on top of something, pushing through something. Alex asked at the depth they were at, and Vanessa tells him about 160 feet at that point. Vanessa asks if they are cutting through an object, and Jared informs her that they seem like they're trying to go through it. It's trying to cut through this. And then it does.
Yep.
So was that the chapel vault?
Yeah, or
we
bedrock.
don't know, but that's the right level. They had two targets, at least two targets that they were looking at. The one around 100 feet, they did get wood, no Roman numerals and all of that. The other target was about 150 or so, a little more than 150. They hit this at 160. They were drilling through it, and then as soon as it did, everything fell loose and it all started to collapse. Well, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm okay. So like the vault is the cement covered box that
correct
Prometheus shows us, right?
Yes.
Is cement strong enough to put that kind of pressure back on a big caisson like that? Because that's what always weirds me out, where I'm like, I get them moving it, where they show images of we were on it and we pushed it down.
Yeah,
but like for it to resist enough, because I come on more
how
with
big it is, how big it is and how thick it is, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess so. I mean, maybe it's a truckload of gold and it's really pushing back.
Maybe so.
But if it is the vault too, doesn't that like kind of make y'all like shudder a little bit of like, oh, please don't break anything important?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the risk. That's the risk you take when that thing goes down the hole.
Yeah, we talked to Vanessa when we had her on the show a couple years ago. We asked her about that, and she said she does not want to be the person who cuts the Ark of the Covenant in half.
Yeah.
Then the big vortex shows up over Oak Island.
Yeah, the claw comes up with half a menorah. Comes up with half a menorah in it. It's all bent to.
Yeah, that would be bad. That would be bad. So they were up against something hard. What was it? We just simply don't know. But then all heck breaks loose. That's when I was starting to say, are they into a void? Was that the chapel shaft? Or chapel vault? Did they break into it? And then that's when the dirt all fell into that void and into the chapel vault and ruined everything. I don't know.
Could be.
Could it be?
Could it be?
That's not huge. Could it be? Yeah. If the caisson cuts off the flood tunnel, could the collapse be from the sudden lack of pressure?
That's an interesting thought.
Yep.
It could.
Yep, sure could.
So I don't know. Yeah, I know that's your opinion, Robert.
Yeah, Robert, I was about to say. Robert, you're mighty confident. You don't know.
You don't know. He thinks he knows. I have some guys. I got to work with these guys. I got to get them back on. But there's these guys that have been working on with the secret treaty #1 of the North American Congress. It's an interesting story of where they say the Ark of the Covenant is, and we'll get that all figure it out at some point here this spring and get them guys
Cool.
on.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, and I try to be the best I can with these stories like this. A lot of people come to me with their theories and their, I get emails all the time from people describing where they think everything is, and the guys are looking in the wrong place. They're, everything under the sun pretty much, and some of them have credence and some of them don't. But this one, but I like to sometimes just let people come on and explain their story, and let you decide what you think of it, rather than me sitting there and ripping them apart and all that. Let them just tell their story, and you figure out whether or not you believe it. So we'll see about getting these guys on at some point in the future here real soon. So they continue on a little bit, but after they break through whatever this is, that's when it seems, based upon what we see on TV, it seems like that's the point where all heck breaks loose and everything collapses. But it was interesting what Alex had asked Marty about. Do you feel those vibrations, those little
The tremors?
Yeah.
Did anybody else think of that old classic movie Tremors?
Here comes
Feel the tremors.
Where's Kevin Bacon? He's running around. I can't think of that other guy's name. Yeah. So yeah, and you see the camera, looking at the oscillator, and it's like shaking and stuff. Was that real, or was that them making something up? Don't know. Is there any chance that the backfill they are using could wind up in the caisson and pulled up in the hamburger? Yes, it is. Right? I think.
I mean, well, they're down 160 feet or so by the time they start backfilling it, and they said the hole was 30 feet deep.
Mm-hmm.
So the stuff they're actually pushing in, I don't think would be, winding up in there, because it's got 100 feet of soil between the bottom of the hole and the bottom of the caisson.
Right.
But I could keep pushing it down for sure if they're just going over old backfill. If it's one of those overlapping caisson holes. Yep. I could just keep pushing it down. Yep.
Fred Ward, that was his name. Thank you. Yeah, sandworms. So everything just started, and it got pretty massive. I mean, this happened with H8, if you remember. H8 collapsed, and I was worried about the same thing when they pulled that caisson up and they put all that backfill in there. It filled up the void. You would think that it also filled up the void that was H8 at the bottom of H8, where they got the bones and all that other stuff. Did it fill that void up with backfill? I shudder to think that might be the case. How much of the backfill from all these caissons, 22 of them now, they did 21 prior to this one here. So 22 caissons and all that backfill from 5 feet to 10 footers. That's a lot of backfill that they've introduced into that money pit area. And water. We talked about the water coming from just simply the drill program. 10,000 gallons a day, was it, Tom?
Yep. 10,000 gallons a day. Two truckloads a day. Yep. That's
crazy amounts of water. And you talk about those, and we mentioned this before, but you talk about the precious metals showing up in the water samples, and all of a sudden they're gone. Hello, you just put all this water.
You flushed it. You just flushed it out.
You just flushed it out. Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, as we go on here, the guys, you see this big hole. That's where everything's just falling in. It's a terrible thing, really. I mean, and that's why I was talking about it could it be a void? Could they have hit the chapel vault and got into that void, and then all this backfill's falling into it? I would love to think that that's the case. So is it a tragedy? Is it a problem? Is it a problem that could have a good thing to it because they did hit a void? At this point, we just don't know. This picture here just gets me right there, because here's Rick and the guys rock underneath the
not happening
oscillator. He's not happy for sure.
No, if it was me, it's not happening.
I wouldn't be getting under that oscillator.
No way.
I don't care what the guy holding it up.
Well, if it goes, you're going with it.
You're going to get squished like a bug.
It really will be Aladdin's cave.
Yes, it will. Look at that hole. That's the one I used for the thumbnail on tonight's show. But look at that. That's crazy. That's really crazy.
Yeah, I'm with Tom. I'm not standing there. I'm not leaning over it.
I'm not putting my head in there. I'm not putting my fingers in there. Nothing.
Nope.
That guy's not either. Look at him. He's hanging on there. Oh, look at that. I ain't going under there.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the guy that did. I don't know. But yeah, so crazy. But you know, it really hit me right off the bat, thinking, oh my gosh, no, this could not be happening again. To me, the collapse makes sense if they are in the right spot, because it isn't known that the vault collapsed. Have a big debris field with openings in the bedrock down there. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, soil had to go somewhere.
Thank you, Burton.
So it's a good thing. If that's the case, then we're in the right spot, and we just got to overcome the current difficulty, right? Just keep filling it in.
It could be a void or a channel down there of some sort, and it just broke through the ceiling, and down everything goes.
And Burton's one of the people that kind of has a good idea of what's down there, because he was involved with Panther Geoscience, and they did the seismic surveys. So thank you for that, Burton. We appreciate your opinion on that very much. So, yeah. So,
did y'all say John Younger's comment?
Well, it's going to be. It's going to.
It's going to the bedrock
theory. Yeah, I like that. I feel like it's a good thing. Yeah, it's a Burton set. I do too. I mean, I want to feel like it's a good thing, and that's why I wrote the title and the thumbnail that I did tonight. Because is it a tragedy, or is it a problem with a good happy ending because they found a void? Don't know yet. We'll find out hopefully soon. They did go in and was that my name? Okay, I kind of jumped there. I wasn't sure. They did try to go on. They wanted to continue on, and of course, you heard Marty and Rick talking to Vanessa, who owns Rock Equipment Company, and asking her, "Is it safe to continue?" So they got this idea here. They're going to push all this backfill into the cavity, fill it back in, hopefully. Put these iron plates back in place, which they do. They push one of the iron plates back in place. Put the oscillator back down, and continue on into next week's show. So we'll find out next week. Were they able to go any deeper, or did it all happen again? Looks like it happens again, but do they get any further?
It just came to me. So remember when they were at 95 feet, and they come over and said the last 4 feet of casing has gone in very easily.
Yes.
So the void, they're down at 150 or 60, whatever, when they have this collapse.
Yes.
The void could be at 95 feet, and the caisson has just loosened it enough now that top is collapsing into the void at 95 feet, which just happens to be tunnel level, right?
That's a very good observation, Tom. Yep.
It doesn't mean that the void that it collapsed into was at the bottom of that caisson.
Yeah. That's a very good point there too, Jan. Vanessa expected cave-ins. She knows that ground very well too. But yeah, that's an awesome point, Tom. Yeah. If it was in soft material, or if it were in some sort of a void at 95 to 100 feet, this all could be going in there. You may not have, and then the hard structure they hit down below and then seem to break through.
Yep. Totally unrelated.
It might be unrelated.
But we speculate.
Or it might be the chapel vault down there, and that hammer grab needs to go down a little deeper so it can get that whole scoop full of gold coins.
Yep. Could be.
And half of the Ark of the Covenant. I don't know if this. I think this picture here was actually when they were still trying to figure out what to do with it. You can see the caisson says 140. At that top of it would be 174.5 feet. If they get in that far. 225 cubic yards filled to fill 8 foot radius at 120 feet deep would be uncompacted. Compact would require.
So how many cubic yards of backfill to fill that?
Uncompacted
120 feet.
So if you had 20 yards in a dump truck, there's 10 dump trucks.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
and uncompacted, it's much looser for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And you're going to need a lot more. You're going to need a lot more as you compact. So very good point. Yeah. Appreciate that. Who was that? Where was that? It's David. David, thank you, David. Appreciate that. Good point. So there you have it. There's another look at the hole there. When they pulled that metal plate back, you can see us of it. It's just, but you look how much they had to add on top of the money pit just to flatten it out so they could bring in that crane and all this equipment.
Build their base,
to build their base. I'm surprised, quite honestly, that we haven't seen a major collapse in more of the whole money pit area from all the things that have gone on in there. That whole thing could drop 10 feet, 20 feet down.
Right.
As it
Yeah, I mean, well, you could be like the guys back in, whatever it was, the year that they just heard the big rumble and they went over and everything had collapsed, right?
Yep. And did not Ian Spooner hear a rumbling?
Mm-hmm.
That whole area could be treacherous ground in the
Mm-hmm.
money pit after all the work that's been done for 230 years. Could be in bad shape. Here's where they were pushing that plate back in. You see all this fill they put in here in the back, and then they're pushing that plate back into spot so they can continue on. I'm glad to see they are going to continue on for next week's show. I think next week's show is called the Channeling the Solution. Speaking of solution channels of some way, yeah. So
I think they're going to bring on a psychic and they're going to channel a solution.
They've tried everything else. Why not a channeler? A psychic could come and channel and tell them whether there's gold and silver down there, right? Divining rods work.
Well, they could remote view it. I've always been curious what remote viewers would see on Oak Island.
We got to talk to that guy, Peter. When I was at Phenomenon, I know that I was getting off track there. I was at Phenomenon and I was out and went to a remote viewing session, and the guy was expert remote. I don't know. I have to talk to him.
Do
on the remote view down there in the money pit.
Yeah, I had a great uncle, great I don't know. He was an uncle. Who knows how actually? But that was always that's your uncle so and so. But he was a water witcher, but did the dowsing rods.
Yep. Psychic chemist.
Few of them a couple years ago. Interesting. They had a few on a show, like a team. That's cool.
Dan Blankenship found 10x by divining.
Yep.
Yes. And he
was spot on. He found it. He found that void down there. A big chamber.
Yeah, and I still believe he was led to that spot for a reason. I'm still interested in 10x.
I'm still in. Yeah, I am too. I still think there may be a tunnel down there that leads over to this way. Maybe a solution channel. Maybe some of the stuff that Jeremy and Mr. Burton here found on Burton Cosgrove found on the seismic study. Something that leads from that way. It's these natural voids that are down there. Could very well lead from the 10x over to the money pit area. I still believe that from looking at Mr. Abbott's acoustic. Oh gosh, what was that thing? Sonar, it's like thing he put down there that went around and it picked up. It looked like there was a tunnel leading in and out of 10x. So, anyway, lots of stories here. My goodness, it goes on. And on.
yeah,
for sure. All right. Jumping into that's it for that. We'll see what happens next week in the money pit to take that further. We jump over to the swamp. We see Katya and Alex over there with Billy, and it looks like they have come to the end of they've been chasing this stone. Call it a stone road. Call it a stone platform.
Really, I'm going to write that down. Thank you, Gretchen. Never heard of that.
The Sutton Hoe ship burial in England was found by a seer. See the seer. They're over there chasing that stone road, stone platform. It's amazing that this thing has gone on all the way down from the southeast corner of the swamp, all the way up to the northwest corner of the swamp, or all the way up to the north peak of the swamp. If you look at it as a triangle. And it stops right there about where the road is right there. But it seemed like they hit the end of it at this point. They were digging around and they did find some more pottery. Looked like he had the handle of a jug or something that he was holding there. You can't see it very well, but that's it right there.
Oh, wow.
Lots and lots of pieces. There was a bag. Look at the bag just full of stuff right there. All kinds of pieces of pottery they found. Was this a trash heap of some sort? Maybe. I don't know. Right there at the end.
Right at the end of the road, just dump it.
At the end of the road, dump it all right there, yeah. But it does seem as though they found the end of this paving area, the paving with the rocks.
Yeah.
They've come to the end of it. So now they're going to jump over. We do know that they jump over and they work on the other side of the road, heading towards that dam area of the over by the beach, getting right out there on the north end of the swamp. We do know that they were working over there. We all saw them when we were on Tony Sampson's boat, Salty Dog Sea Tours. We saw them working over there. So we know that they do get over there and do some work. We don't know exactly what they find yet. I still want them to look for that dam. Remember that? They found that seemed like they found wood down there and right off the beach.
Yeah, and they had to go get a permit because it was down over 6 feet deep or whatever it was.
Exactly. Yeah, that was like 2 seasons ago too, and they have not gone back until now. So I'm really curious to see what they find over there as well. A lot of chat. You guys are really coming up with some good stuff here. So, but that's about it for the swamp. They really didn't take it any further. They found some pottery at the end of the road. That's when Rick came in and said, we're at the end of our permit. We have to stop here and get a permit so we can go further and jump over the road. That will come in future episodes here as we go along. Lot 5. Lot 5 had a nice little find. We used that picture last week. They got that picture of Jack Begley doing the Klingon face with his eyebrows up. He every time we know that Jack gets very excited about stuff, about finds. Is that a diamond?
Shaped object?
Yeah,
diamond shaped. The hinge must be off a treasure chest.
Yes, exactly. We know he's very enthusiastic.
That would be me if I was on the show.
I know.
I would be so annoyed with me because it'd be like, we found gold button.
You're the guy that hears that knock in the woods and says it's Bigfoot no matter what.
Yeah. Let's Bigfoot. Guys, let's meditate and talk to him with our minds.
Here's a knock on the front door. It must be Bigfoot.
Must be Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, he got very excited about a copper nail. It does have a lot of significance to it. Was it? No, but it did have a lot of significance to it. And
it's a cool find.
A very cool find. Not only did they have one, but they found 2.
Just the fact that it's copper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the
fact if it's an iron nail or a steel nail, well, big deal.
Yep. It's like when you just looking at it, you really get why they used it. Like it's a beautiful shape.
No rust.
Good. No rust, nothing. Just a pretty copper nail.
Yep. Used on ships. That primary use was for ships. And then they bring out Carmen, our friend Carmen Lake. Am I the only one with issues about Jack speculating about Templars based on some copper nails?
Right.
You have to know Jack. You have to know Jack.
Well, he does know Jack, actually.
Yeah.
You would have to tell us, Burton, because you actually know Jack.
Well, I did look at Laird's face when he said Knights of Malta, because I'm thinking, okay, well, what is the New York, archaeologists? Because I would be with Jack of like, oh, there's a connection. It's the Knights. Here it is. And, Laird would probably be like, well, it could be any ship, but Laird just kind of nodded and went, yes, more intrigue. And I thought, okay, he didn't poo-poo it.
Right. He didn't.
So that's connected to that or the other 3,000 ships that have sailed by there.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it is cool because they are, and that's exactly what Carmen says, that they are from a ship, certainly. And they are used. He was talking about them holding on copper sheathing on the bottom of a ship, on the hull of a ship, to hold that copper sheathing on. Makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Gary was saying it probably used inside the ship. Anywhere you use copper nails,
I would have thought outside,
but to seawater.
I would have thought outside because they put the copper on there to keep the sea worms or whatever from eating into the ship.
Right. Exactly. And so that would be a great way to nail that on.
Those nails look pretty pristine. They look pretty pristine, didn't they?
They did. They really did.
Not like they've been like if it's the copper. Copper's not super hard. I don't think at least copper I'm familiar with. Anyway, if you were to beat that with the iron hammer or something, those tops would be beat up a little bit more, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Yep.
That's a good point.
So if it's going through a copper sheet, it would go through it pretty easily and nail it into that wood of the hull of a ship. I think you would be able to.
Which would be oak.
Which would be oak. That would be hard. So, but chances
know.
are they're going to go in pretty easy.
Well,
Maybe
look
they
at
beat them with a wooden
these.
mallet. I don't know.
I look at these and I think Templars, guys.
Can't rule it out.
Can't rule it.
You know the Ancient Aliens guy where they have the meme and it's like aliens and you need one for Oak Island where it's like Templars.
I'm not going to say it's Templars, but it's Templars.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
That's Giorgio Tsoukalos. Giorgio Tsoukalos. Oh, yeah, amazing. I remember that. So they got these nails, and that's what it would be used for. So, I'm glad that they bring Carmen out to identify that. So it is a good find, a very good find because of the dates of it. Also, Gary had talked about how he had found some of these in Florida as he's metal detecting on the beach all the time, connected to 1600 and 1700s shipwrecks. As early as 3500 BC, copper nails were used in the construction of European ships because they do not corrode, as we had already said. The group began scanning them, and they did come up with some stuff on here. Carmen asked if it had arsenic and lead in it, because that would give it a particular date range for him, and it did. And so he came up with the date range of about, I think it was 1720 to 1760 is what he was saying on these things.
Yep.
So
I'll put it in the wheelhouse for a few people.
Yep. So that's great. That's a really, really good find. Now that adds, you've had so many things found on lot 5. You've had the trade beads. You've had a fake diamond gemstone on lot 5. You've had coins on lot 5. You've had buttons on lot 5. You've all these different things that have been found there. This is really the first time that anything related to a ship has been found there, right? Am I wrong with that? I think that's correct.
Yeah, pretty close. I think.
I don't think anything else has been found that was actually from a ship
that you could actually say was used in the construction of a ship.
Correct.
Or could have been used in the construction of a ship. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that ties everything together with a ship there at lot 5. And again, it kind of goes along with that multi-generational use, because I think they were talking the 1720, 1760 was Duke d'Anville, right? Is that the Duke d'Anville era?
Yeah.
So.
Well, that whole 1600s, 1700s, the French and the British were all over the place.
Yep. All right. So.
I'm with Coach, on the Knights Templar thing.
What's that? What did he say?
He said definitive evidence of some other group before he gives up. Yeah, I think with the to your multi-generational thing, which lot 5 is showing, this the whole story of Oak Island. What to me, there's a common thread, and it's secret societies, whether it's the Knights of Malta, Templars, Rosicrucians, Freemasons. These dudes in these brotherhoods care about this place. And, it's what connects Middle East to France and Nova Scotia, Templars. So, yeah, I'm with Coach. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
And, well, you know what? And we're
we're
going to head right in there in just a moment. So what you just said, we're heading down that road because we're heading for the war room right after this. So we got the
pirates, Templars.
Can't rule out pirates. They were definitely in the area. So the wash plant, to get down to the wash plant, these are the spoils that are coming directly from the hammer grab, putting them in the ground. They metal detect them, pull out the wood, take the spoils, run them around in a dump truck, dump it over here, dump it in this thing, and they're going through the spoils of TB1 as they work. And so you got Marty goes over there to get a look at a couple things, and wow, more leather shoes. They speculated it was probably from leather shoes.
Looks like the shape of a heel almost.
Yeah, it looks like shoe leather.
Yeah,
I'm excited. That's what I was saying. I want to see what happened to all the leather. Where's all the paper, all the documents.
Marty said they can carbon date it.
Yeah. Yes.
So get a date on it.
Organic material. Yep, that's cool though. That again, what was the leather they had that one time was 1492, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, it fell into
it was
Columbus lost a shoe. Yeah, 1492.
Jeff Irving. Can anybody say Jeff Irving?
I can.
Yep. They also found this concrete type material, and then you see something else in Marty's hand that they didn't talk about. He's got a metal rod. It doesn't look like, well, I watched as he handed it back over, and it didn't look like it came to a point. Like it might have been just broken off, but it was a metal rod. It looked like it was about 5 inches long or so, and square shank, like you see right there all the way through.
Some sort of a nail or a pin or something.
Yeah, some sort of a pin or something. They didn't talk about it on the show, but you see it, him holding it there. But then they also found this, what looks like a piece of concrete. Now it's coming out of, we don't know what depth. I don't think they were able to keep track of exactly what depths all this stuff was coming from, but it definitely came at depth down in TB1. They're thinking they might have hit the top of the chapel vault, which supposedly is coated or covered in concrete. Lo and behold, you got what looks to be a piece of concrete coming out of there.
Definitely, if it's not concrete, it's a porous piece of rock, that's for sure.
Yeah, very porous. Yep. So is it concrete? We don't know yet. Hopefully we'll find out. It won't be one of those things that we just see it and never hear about it again, but hopefully we'll find out what that. I hate when they do that, because you get all talking about something and then it never comes up again.
Yep.
So much of stuff that goes by on the show never even makes it on the air. It's funny that they have to pick and choose, from 1% of all the footage taken, they have to pick and choose what to put on. So if it is truly concrete, now that ties right back in with everything else, and possibly even the chapel vault. So that could be
maybe lot 5 too.
Lot 5, exactly.
Yep.
Lot 5, that concretion that was underneath the cone.
Send her back to the lab. Send her back to the lab. Get her tested.
Yeah, because we know this is where they had similar soils.
Yep. Emma will be able to find out, and she will find out and tell us exactly what she finds out of that. So good stuff. I mean, that wash plant, man, it's
a cool looking operation, getting to see it in action.
Raise your hand in the chat if you would love to be one of the people running the or working the wash plant and picking material off there. I would do it. That one dude that was over there last week that found that I forgot what he found now, but he found something. He was showing it to Doug and everything. But I want to be that guy. I want to do that. That would be so fun. Yeah, there you go. Me, I'll do it. A lot of people chiming in. All right, we are ready for our giveaway. Then we're going to the war room. So don't go away. We're going to hit the war room next. And there's some really good stuff to talk about. What happened there. Burton, Burton said he'd do it too. Yep. A lot of people chiming in. I'd be on that in a heartbeat. All right, let's get Linda in here, and we will talk about the giveaway for tonight, which is this book that was Brian O'Reilly. Is that pronounced O'Reilly?
That's a good guess.
Okay.
Brian, how do you pronounce your name?
O-R-E-E-L, O'Reilly. Donated the book Jerusalem Files by Corey Mole, Christopher Morford,
and he said we couldn't give away the book without sticky notes for Tom.
Indeed, they're a must-have when you got that. What'd you say? This metal, was this a sign? A metal sign?
It is. It's about 8 by 13, maybe something like that. It's metal. There's a little hole in each corner so you can fasten it onto whatever.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I want to win
came
that.
up with that. Actually, there's a second one of those, another one just like it, that we'll give away later.
That is so cool. I'd love to have that. I got the book. Actually, I have 2 copies of the Jerusalem Files, and I also have the audio book. So anyway, to be able to be eligible for these, you have to be a member of our Facebook group page, The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. Link for that group down below in the chat. You can look down there, click on it, and get vetted by our crack team of vetters and allowed into the group if you're not a bot. And then Linda will put out a picture of what our upcoming giveaways are as a post in the Facebook group. And all you have to do is comment on that post and say yes, and you'll be entered into the drawing. She then spins. We give you, if you're here, you must be eligible. You must be here to win. To get it, and you must tell us right away, quickly, tell us you're here so that we know, and then we will, if we don't hear from you, we'll spin again and try to get someone else that's here. So
Just to explain a tiny bit more, I get 6 or 7 people every week saying, I tried to comment on it, but you had already turned off the commenting. Well, you're waiting too long. Don't do that. I post that on Friday before noon. And then it's not until the next Wednesday at noon that I turn it off. Today, in fact, I left it up until 2:00. So, you got all but the last 3 or 4 hours before the show to put your name on that list. If you put your name on some other post and you comment yes, I'm not going to see that. So I'm not going to get you on the thing to spin.
Right. And if you have a different name on YouTube than you have on Facebook, you have to tell Linda, because if we're looking for, one person's name over on YouTube on the spin, but you're a different name on Facebook. Yeah.
Jan gave me this, and this is where your names are. I have everyone's name in here that has a different name.
So make sure you tell her. All right. You ready to spin a roof?
I am.
All right. Let's do it and see who wins this week.
You guys, my spinner is almost completely full. I'm down to 1% of space left.
Wow.
But there are a lot of names on here. All right.
Good luck. Oh, that went by real fast. Gloria Waters.
Just weird.
Sometimes it spins great and sometimes it doesn't. Gloria Waters, are you here? Let us know if you are, and we'll get you all taken care of on that. That sign is really cool. What would that sign have been used for? That painted metal sign? I mean, it looked like it had been outside. It looks a little rusty on the corner right there, like it had been outside or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's the way they printed them.
Oh, maybe so. Maybe so.
I have no clue. Michelle would know.
Huh. That is really neat.
They're both from her. Michelle Tomeyer there's Gloria. Michelle is really good about giving us things.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, I know. She has donated.
She comes up with all sorts of interesting things.
A lot of stuff this year. Gloria, have you read that book before? Do you have a copy of that book? Let me know what we have about
Gloria, if you will put your name and address in a private message to me, I will get this out to you either tomorrow or Friday. It depends on if I can get across the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
But for sure by Friday.
Yeah.
Seth, yours didn't go out until this week.
Oh, you're muted, Seth.
I was super angry. I was saying, dang it.
I knew you were probably saying bad words and shaking your fist.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. No worries.
Yeah.
Not read it. She has not read the book. You're going to find that book very, very interesting. So that is a well-written book, and they back up all of their everything in the back. Everything's referenced in the back. Ask Tom. How many Post-it notes you got in that book, Tom?
I lost count.
A lot.
Probably 2 or 3 pads.
Yeah.
2 or 3 pads, probably.
Yeah. I know I got quite a few in mine too. But
Dan, I have the train scheduled. That doesn't allow me to get across the tracks. I do live on the wrong side of the tracks, Pat, but I'm getting ready to do something about that.
Yes. Yes, that would be interesting.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate you very much. All right. And let's get back with it. Congratulations, Gloria. All right. So last but not the least of the show was the War Room. We saved this for the end because I figured it might take a little bit to get through some of this here tonight. So they jump over to the War Room in this segment, and we see that 2 friends of the show right there at the table, John Edwards and Scott Clarke. You know, these guys have been on there before. Scott's been on there many times. John's been on there a few times. John Edwards came with the Ark of the Covenant being on Oak Island, and he came with some books and a great whole research that he's done on that. And Scott Clarke, Scott, I mean, Tom, you want to talk about Scott's theories?
Scott Clarke, good guy, wrote this book.
Yep.
Speaking of good books.
Yeah, speaking of good books.
As you can tell by the sticky notes. So
yeah,
it's a great book. He's a Mason himself, and it goes right through the whole history of Oak Island. And if you want to read about the history of Oak Island, Freemasonry, this is your guy.
Yep. Absolutely.
And a good timeline too. He has a great chronological timeline of all events on Oak Island that you can just kind of look at and peruse. It's I've read the book twice, but I'll also pick it up and just go use it for a resource for those little things he adds in there. Yeah, it's great.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. That's a great book. I have that one too. And I guess Mr. Edwards may be coming out with a book soon too. So we'll see
Cool.
What he has in store for us coming up. Good stuff from both of these guys. Now, they did talk a little bit about what John had come with last year on the show. A couple of books that he came across. One was the whole genuine works of Flavius Josephus, which was written in 1812, and then also this Holy Week published in 1763. Some interesting things about these books was some of the hand-drawn information that was in them. So, you know, it's interesting here. Here's one of them. And again, we're kind of revisiting from last year. But you see these hand drawings in here. And you see like Jerusalem written on it. It looks like some sort of a temple right there. And you see these over here, what looks like a menorah. Is this right here maybe the Ark of the Covenant? You know, you don't see anything on top of it, but a box with two lines going through it or something. And what's this here? Is this some sort of a cave or something? I don't know. Weird stuff. Leave it to these guys to try to figure all this stuff out and do all the research and decoding, because that goes way beyond me for sure. But like, here's a close-up of that cave, what looks like a cave and a menorah. This one here is the one that really kind of gets everybody going. And it's the one that they talked about a little bit on the show. This was the book that was only a copy of this page was given. I think if I'm correct on that, I think John's in the chat here, but it was just a copy. Doesn't have the actual book. This is the book that Rick Lagina, when he came out with that little video, and Rick said, hey, if I would like to get this particular book, not a copy of this book, this particular book with the drawing in it, because they would love to be able to vet the drawing, and without having the book, they can't do that. You need to look at the ink. You need to look at a lot of different factors go into being able to vet whether or not the time frame of this particular drawing is correct. The interesting point, we just talked about this just a couple of weeks ago. We brought this picture up, and I was doing the same thing that John was talking about, which was comparing it to the vault in the swamp, which is what John was on the show to talk about. I did not know that's what he was going on there to talk about, but I happened to be going through some pictures I had, and I came across this. And I went, hey, that kind of looks like the box in the vault in the swamp.
Yeah.
And it's pointing to the swamp, you know. But what are these up on top? Flood tunnels, or as we talked about earlier today, maybe it's swamp. What were you were saying about the little creek?
Yeah, it could have been channels or something coming in from the shore. Could be totally not even related.
Yeah,
could just be another diagram on the same page.
Right. Looks like a boat out there, and that looks like water
off the shore. Yeah,
off the shore. Something. Excuse me. You also have this line right here, which looks like going up to New Ross, up the Gold River, up to New Ross. You got a boat. Looks like it's heading up to New Ross. That looks like a 4. There's all kinds of interesting stuff on here, to say the least, going on in this picture. And these 3 boxes that I think it was Henry DeWitt had come up with and said that there was 3 sinkholes that appear or like little ponds or sinkhole ponds just across the causeway from Oak Island on the mainland. And we showed a picture of these on one of the podcasts we had last year. They look like there's like 3 little ponds or sinkholes over there. According to Jeremy and Burton Cosgrove, there's a lot of sinkholes around this whole territory area because of the underwater voids and stuff. But so, and you also see that the island is divided up into lots. The island was divided up into lots in the mid 1700s, 1746 or 64. I can't remember which one. It's
close enough.
Right, the mid 1700s is when they divided up into lots. That tells you this had to be drawn after that. time frame.
Mhm.
Is that the menorah? Could be Doug, but I don't think so. If it's the menorah, it's a terrible drawing of the menorah.
Yes, 7 arms, right?
I suppose it could be. We can't rule that out, but if it was, it's a really bad drawing of it. It's
So the
missing
vault
whole
is
arm.
where the menorah was. With the menorah is too
It
too
wouldn't
big,
fit in that box.
right? Okay, that's what I
No,
was
it would
thinking.
not fit in that box. The menorah is way bigger than that. The true menorah.
Mhm,
Talk to
mhm.
Corey and Christopher. They'll guide us on that, but it's way bigger than that. It's on a stand and it's pretty tall, from what I've been told.
Yeah.
So yeah, 6 foot. So there you go. But lots of interesting things here, and but good stuff all around. And there, like you said, there's where they pointed out that vault. Is it pointing to that? Man, I don't know. Sure, can't rule that out either, right?
No, quite possible.
Yeah. So those are really two cool books, and I think there's this one here. Let's go on to this one. There was a cipher. This is right up those guys' alley, or talking about these people like Jake Roberts coming up with these ciphers and whatnot, being able to pull these out. But John Eason is pulled out of this page or this whatever this. I don't know where this piece of paper came from. I don't know if it's part of those books or something, or maybe John can tell us. But the name is pulled out. You got these underlined letters, and John Eason comes out of there. And John Eason has a very good story. He was a Freemason at Annapolis Royal, which was the oldest lodge in Canada. The oldest Freemason lodge in Canada was in Annapolis Royal. 62 miles from Oak Island, and was established in 1605 by French settlers. Annapolis Royal became the home of the first fraternal organization of Freemasons in 1738.
Mhm.
Okay. And
Yep.
if the island was divided lots just maybe 12 years later, that kind of fits into that whole time frame.
Mhm.
Pretty
Yeah, Annapolis Royal was a French and an English fort at one time.
You go back and forth.
It went back and forth several times. But yeah, Champlain would have been in that area. 1605, 1604. Champlain was all up through the Bay of Fundy. And, depending on whether you think Champlain was bacon or not, who knows?
I know a couple people that believe that he was.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that.
The Champlain was just another alias for Sir Francis Bacon, along with a few other names.
You think about it, the British brought over some Welsh miners back in the 1700s, and they dropped them off in Annapolis Royal. So did they travel from Annapolis Royal to Oak Island? I don't know.
Yes.
That's Bigfoot.
They disappeared for a year, then they re-showed up again. So
yep. So going on, John goes on to tell the group that the member of the Easons family were also Masons. Scott tells the Masonic Masonic Lodge was held at the Sinclair Inn, which had painted murals. I wanted to go here so bad. Have you ever been there, Tom?
no, never been there.
My gosh, we have to go there on our next trip to Nova Scotia. There's painted murals on the wall inside here, the Sinclair Inn. Here's a picture of some of them. Painted murals on the wall that are really, really old. And this was used as the building where they held their Masonic Lodge was held inside this building. And they had these painted murals. And now this was the part that I did not know anything about. But this particular tent, or this thing right here that was painted on the wall, you see right there, it says, prior to our first visit to the painted room or mural in the Sinclair Inn, the museum curator was kind enough to send us some high-resolution photos. 2 images of the mural immediately jumped out at us. First, it was the initial appearance of being a lighthouse, but on closer inspection, it appears to be the triangular opening in with a fold, meaning it was some sort of a tent. A Templar tent. It resembles a Templar Crusader tent.
Oh, sure does.
Yeah. Yep. And it said, note the red cross painted on the top of the Sinclair Inn image. There's like a couple of things up here. It's hard to see that. We're looking at pictures of pictures or whatever, but Yeah. So is that? I don't know, but referring to it as a Templar tent. Those tents were used with when holy artifacts were traveling, according to John. Scott also tells him that the book suggests that there are biblical treasures connected to the Crusaders going to Nova Scotia. John then tells him that in 1312, when the Templars were abandoned, their assets were given. This was the interesting stuff that I have come to learn about all this. They may not have been shown the Templar cross on the air. Oh, okay. All right, Gretchen. Thank you, Gretchen. Their assets were given to when they were disbanded. Remember in 1307, Friday the 13th, 1307, all heck breaks loose. The Templars have to scatter. Some of them are caught and executed. Some of them, Jacques Molay, burned at the stake. They had a lot of assets. A lot of it never was ever seen ever again. So we think, talking to Gretchen and folks like that they made it onto the ships of La Rochelle, left from La Rochelle, went where? Some went to Scotland, maybe. Some went to Portugal. Lots of different talking about that. If you've heard any of the podcasts we've had with Gretchen or any of those folks that describing that sort of stuff, very, very interesting what happened to a lot of that treasure. But some of it, the assets were given to the Knights Hospitaller. Am I pronouncing that right? Hospitaller?
Yeah, Hospitaller.
Hospitaller. Scott says the Hospitaller eventually became the Knights of Malta. And the Knights of Malta continue to this very day. Now, these are things that, I kind of maybe heard people mentioning it a little bit before, but wow.
Do y'all remember when Marty went with the Ancient Aliens guy? I was a special History Channel thing, but Marty went to Malta and they looked at the ancient keyholes and stuff with I'm awful with his names, the Ancient Aliens guy. But right away, Giorgio, right away I was like, Malta, like that's a very interesting island if you're into Ancient Aliens and conspiracy and all that and giants and fun stuff. But yeah, I just thought, what a funny thing to come,
I know
Marty's been there. Is he a Knight of Malta? Was he initiated? And that was a cover story to get him on. I'm kidding.
Oh, maybe. I do have a picture that I had captured once on a drilling down where Marty is making the M on his arm like this, very purposely. Very purposely, by the way. He was working at trying to get it exactly right for the camera. Cross land from Naples Royal to Oak Island leads through New Ross.
Yep.
Bum, bum, bum. And what's a New Ross? Well, possibly. Well, we know
that's what's there. Well, that's what's there. Well,
very old well that has been on camera, and Tony Sampson has gone down and saw a cross. It looked like it was carved into one of the rocks going down, or not a cross,
broadhead.
Yeah, a broadhead carved into one of the rocks. And I've been on that property. Tom, you've been on that property. You've
been there.
That well.
Yep. Been there. Got pictures of the inside of it. Yep.
Yep. I was there with Carmen and Christina. Awesome place. Thank you to Alessandra.
Yeah.
Very nice to take us there and go through all that. Knights of Malta were also active in Quebec City and Villa Maria, present-day Montreal, 1600s. Wow, Jeanette, thank you. That's very interesting.
Yeah, they went all up. The French and English were all up through, like, to get to Montreal, they would have gone not into the Bay of Fundy. They would have gone around the top of Nova Scotia, up through Cape Breton, up around that way, and then in through the St. Lawrence River at the northern part of New Brunswick.
There you go. And that goes with Alessandra Naudivari's talking about how when you go down the St. Lawrence Seaway and through the Niagara Falls, you've got towns all along the way that are very, very similar to names of cities or places in the Middle East, Montreal, Quebec. I mean, all these different towns that are all the way. Detroit. Talking about Detroit is in there as well. I mean, oh my gosh, it's crazy how they match up.
And it's good. With those waters are being traveled a lot earlier than 1500.
Yes. Very good stuff there. There you go.
If you read some of Gretchen's books, you'll figure out that those routes were traveled a lot earlier than 1500.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And the well and the castle foundations. Yeah, that's that's what all many of us believe, Gretchen, that the up there at Alessandra's property, and there's some awesome stonework. Tom, you've seen all that stone there. Yeah, Montreal destroyed. Yeah, on our podcast, absolutely, she did point that out. Thank you, Linda. That there is a really strange piles of big stones on that property, huge stones. Some of them look to have been cut and flat. I mean, they're very. I had pictures of some of them. You had pictures of some of them, Tom.
Look very purposely made flat. Yeah,
very purposely made flat. Were they part of some sort of a building? The Sinclair Castle that people say was, and you saw that one picture on John's that picture that John had from that book, showing up the Gold River, and it looks like a castle up there. Is that the Sinclair Castle? Don't know, but boy, is it sure similar to what could be. And the well being there. What was the name of the Hope? The lady that owned it before Alessandra that
I
had,
can't remember.
She was going to put in some gardening or something she was doing in the back of the property and came across stones in the ground, like foundation stones. But she was not allowed. She was told that they called out people to come look. They said, nope, nothing to see here. Covered up. You're not allowed to look at it anymore.
Yeah. There's also the one stone they found there that looked like it had maybe the Templar cross in it.
The Templar cross on one of the stones. Yep. And they took that one and removed it from the property.
It's in a museum or something somewhere. So.
Yeah. They did. Alessandra had it removed.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want it to fall into bad hands and be out. They wanted it out of the weather.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's safekeeping now, from what I've been told. I'm telling you, folks, when you look at that picture from that book, that picture that John has from that book, and you put that all together, that's why dating it. That's why vetting that is so important. It's because so much of that does kind of line up with what we're seeing in real life. So yeah, I made it out of Florida alive. Yes, I did. I kind of wish I was back there because the weather was so much nicer. Pickleball every day, and we went snorkeling with the manatee down there. Christina went twice. She's gonna turn into one someday, I think, like Mr. Limpet. Okay. And here's another picture. The Crusader-style tent was also made its way into Freemasonry and is most often associated with the high priest of royalty, especially with the Royal Arch degree.
And I know about that thanks to Scott's book.
Exactly right. And then there was also in the books that John has that you see little drawings in some of the spots. You got the 8-pointed star, the Knights Hospitaller star. You got the Knights Templar star that they talk about here. There is the 8-pointed star that's drawn on page 354 of this book. That's a clue of some sort. And then you got a menorah there as well. And again, these, if they're vetted and proven that that's, that the ink is old and all that, I mean, what is it trying to say here? Religious artifacts that the Hospitaller have, the menorah, or did? I don't know what that's saying. I mean, we'll have to wait till we get John and Scott on the show. Take it a little further.
Why are these items still being kept secret?
I don't know.
If they exist, I don't know.
What, like the Ark of the Covenant and the menorah?
Well, that I can imagine why, but like the menorah, yeah, I'm kind of like, is there power to having the menorah? I mean, like I know some of the artifacts there are, like we were talking before the podcast, guys. We were talking about the Indiana Jones, and how all these artifacts of power that the Nazis were looking for in those movies. Like, is that real? Like these secret society groups, like they're fighting and transferring these objects?
Well, if you had it and you don't know if you actually had, I guess in modern terms, legal title to it.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah.
any of that treasure that comes up or gets found, right? You know,
Mm.
the country of origin always has the opportunity to come back and say, no, that belongs here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, Kat.
Mm.
St. John's Ambulance Medics, 8-point Maltese
Oh.
cross. That's interesting. Had no idea.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm with Gretchen. She's like there. I feel like there's got to be some sort of like power that, you know, same with like why the Nazis were seeking these out. There's some sort of energy or
That's what they believed anyway. Yep.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
look at, we couldn't think of this person's name. We were talking about it before the show started, about the guy from Raiders of the Lost Ark that was looking for, he was a German that was looking for these religious artifacts, the Ark of the Covenant, the menorah, the Holy Grail, and all that was Otto Rahn.
Spear of Destiny and all these
Spear
items.
of Destiny, right? Because that, I guess either he wanted them or Hitler wanted them. So yeah, one of these books, and it's, I think the next one I have, the picture I have here. Here's the 8-point star again with the Malta written underneath it, and talking about these different temples. Temple built by Herod, Temple Herod's at Jerusalem described. You know, look at that, right where these are, right where this is, right here
Temple
by these.
Onion. Never heard of that.
So yeah, I know, me either. Temple Onion in Egypt.
I love onions.
Built like that at Jerusalem. No, not onions. Wrong onion. Okay,
Yeah.
so now one of the I didn't have that picture. Let's see, where was that? I thought I had that picture in here of that that stamp. Didn't I have, here
Right
it is.
there
Right
on
here.
the page. Yeah.
This stamp. Now, many of the stamp was this book in German hands before? I mean,
Certainly sounds like it. Certainly sounds like it.
I don't know if anybody can read that. If you're German, can you read that? Templar onion burgers.
Yeah.
What were we talking about with this, Seth? What were you saying that might have said the person you were talking to?
Oh, well, I just threw it on, had AI look at it, and it said it was German, like we were thinking, and that it was transferred through, or it was like property of an institution transferred through surrender, or basically like this was part of a collection and it has been released to be
Released to
for
somebody.
sale.
Yeah. I sent it over to to Anne Marie, who's in Germany.
Yep.
And she said the first 3 words are transfer by the, but she really couldn't make out the rest of it.
Oh.
So along the line, Seth, what you're saying, it's been stamped and released, given out, authorized for release, maybe. I don't know.
So if this book was a book that a Jew would have had, somebody from Israel would have had, and then it fell into the hands of the Germans, very likely, right? And then released back to Israel, maybe. So sad that it's not sharp enough.
Or just maybe they had to stamp it to authorize it that you could just have it.
Right, that you were allowed to even have it. Right.
Right. You did not steal this from the official collection.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You didn't steal it from, the guy with the little mustache.
Otto?
Yeah, or Otto Rahn.
Otto Rahn.
He was looking for that stuff. And we were, I was speculating about that. Well, here Otto Rahn was looking for all these religious artifacts from Jerusalem. They thought there was a lot of power to that, and whether it was going to go to Hitler or not. But if the trail of all of our people that are, Corian and Christopher and Gretchen and John and Scott are all following these artifacts going basically from Jerusalem, making their way over to North America. If you guys have figured this out, or if your research kind of leads you in this direction, would then the Germans have also been looking and come in the same direction? I was thinking about this earlier, and I thought, wow, is this crazy to think that they would have been looking up and around Nova Scotia for, I don't know. I mean, would they have? Was there German U-boats ever spotted? And
oh God, yeah, they're all over the place. Yep. They used to go out off the shore here in St. John, in the Bay of Fundy, and they would anchor off the shore and they'd drop spies. You know, my grandfather worked at the port in St. John, and he said you'd see them come right up right in the harbor.
Was Otto Ron ever walking on Nova Scotia?
Yeah, they were all over.
I don't know, man. That's crazy thought, isn't it? New Jerusalem. Yeah. Crazy thought to think that may have been the case. Yeah, it does look like that word there, Borchers, Texas Farm. It does look like that's what I was trying to read. Stab, yeah, STAB. What does that word mean? If you know, or anybody else know? That does look like that is that last word right there. Very close to that, and if not, so yeah, let us know. They caught 2 at least inside.
Of the Cat was saying there was a subnet across the Halifax Harbor.
Yeah, subnets were. Yeah, I was seeing my brother show me the remainders of subnets in Graham and Ann Island here in the Bay of Fundy.
Yep. Man, you couldn't pay me enough to get in a sub. No, thank you.
Not back then.
I was in the Navy, but I don't know if you could do it. Yeah. Not back then. Oh my gosh.
No way.
Right?
That was almost you're not coming home job.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh my gosh, that would have been crazy. I don't know if I could deal with that. Yeah, it was bad enough being on a ship for 6 months, let alone being in a sub. And the nuke subs don't even have to come up very often. They can stay down a long time. All right. Next time on the Curse Vogue, you guys have anything else you want to add to?
No, I'm good.
Good stuff.
No, it was a good episode. I hope the cave in, like you were saying, is a good thing. It's a good sign, and I
hope so. I hope Burton and I are right that it's a good thing. We'll see. And when they jump over on the other side of the swamp, get on the north side of the road there, get looking in there. That's going to be good. Lot 5 always giving us answers. More new interesting finds in there. Still more to come. We'll find out next week about that. So next time on the Curse of Oak Island, Gary has another hit. He finds something cool. You hear him, ooh, he's getting all excited about whatever it is in the swamp that he finds over there. Now, is this on the other side of that road? Maybe.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is too. And there are some artifacts on the table that everybody's checking out. Don't know what that one looks like. A spike. This one looks like that crank handle.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
That one looks kind of like an ox shoe. Don't know what that is over there. A brake pad from a car, 67 Chevy, maybe. I don't know.
Model T.
Model T. Yep. Model T. Or
brake off an ox cart. It's a brake off an ox cart.
Ox cart. Yes. The hand brake off an ox cart. Yeah, that's what it is. So we'll find out more about those next week and see what they come up with there. And these 2 guys don't know who they are. I don't know if they ever said. I don't think they said who they are, but they said they were leading to something, talking about something very, very influential person connected with Lot 5. Based upon what? Now, we've heard that little, what Jack said, is that a diamond? Turns out to be maybe more interesting than we first thought. Is that, did you gather that information, Tom?
I didn't. Yeah, they found something that's of interest on Lot 5. That's somebody, but what did they find that they're saying was somebody of influence? I guess
somebody of influence.
The only thing I can think of would be that glass.
I think they are the experts for the paste gemstone. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Based on the glass gemstone.
That's exciting.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, that was one of those finds that when they were like, oh, it's fake, I thought, but then it turned out to be cooler almost than if it was a diamond, because the whole process of making
that word is something to do with Nazi rank in the military.
Oh,
wow. Yeah, she has a friend who's from Germany, who's actually in Germany right now. So maybe Anne Marie. They just went back over there. So we're going to have her take a look at it too. So and see if they can make out those last couple words on the bottom of that. Interesting stuff. That's what we do here. We try to dig into what they don't tell us about.
Which makes sense back in the day. I mean, the Nazis were burning books, right?
Oh yeah.
And if you had a book, it had to be authorized for you to have it.
That's very true. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Royalty was mentioned, right, Gretchen? About these 2 guys mentioned something about royalty. Would that be
Sir
Sir Francis Bacon? No, I don't know.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And then Rick
Templars.
is
There's
very
Templars.
going, oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
what am I seeing? Yeah, Templars, right? Jacques Fillet. Jacques Fillet. But yeah, so yeah, and we're there. He's Rick's looking at the collapse. He's looking at it collapsing again. I think that's what's happening. It kind of looked like they were alluding to that when they were talking about the episode, that it's is that still TB1 and is it collapsing yet? Probably, but man, I sure hope they can get down a little deeper to see what's in there. If that's the chapel vault or not. Just to be that close and be thwarted once again by not being able to get to the bottom of it. Remember last time they got that can went down there and supposedly hit the corner of it. That's what they were thinking. It was pushing, but it was still going down, but very hard. And they felt like they pushed it out of the way. Is that maybe what happened? I don't know.
I fear for this caisson. I don't think it's good. Has a good ending on this one.
Yeah, I don't think it's the one that got left in the ground. I really don't believe that. I think it was. I think it was a different one that was left in the ground because based on its placement, and that's what I was showing earlier. Based on its placement, I just don't.
Probably not. I'm going to say probably not because they only brought 220 or 250 feet with them.
Right. That was this picture here.
If that was the first one they put down, then yeah, they'd have to pull it back up so that they could drill more holes.
Right.
More in, right.
And they do get one in in Aladdin's cave. Yes. I wanted one down. I don't believe Aladdin's cave was the money pit where the golden the treasure was, but I believe there are answers in Aladdin's cave. And I believe there's a tunnel going out of Aladdin's cave.
Yes.
So I think getting something down there and getting a look around and a little bit better is very, very important. Do they get one in Aladdin's cave at 150 feet or so, 160 feet? I sure hope so. But think about that level. That's where Aladdin's cave was, 150 to 160.
Yep.
Where did they run into the trouble with the TB1? 150 to 160. Coincidence? I think not. That's the level where everything seems to be happening down there. So, and that's where your muon sensors said there was stuff even deeper than that, down around 223 feet.
Yep.
And then you got Burton Cosgrove and Jeremy Church talking about some seismic talking about stuff down that deep in there. So
either muon technology is not accurately showed to me through this show, or it's the biggest waste of time and money I've ever seen. I'm still like, and Coach said, "Oh, rare negativity from Seth." I know, but the muon thing, I'm always like, what? All we got was just a few images of like what looked like stairs.
Yeah,
and we waited over a year for that. I think they have more. There has to be more. Anyways,
there's definitely more. We just haven't seen it. So there you go. I think
Coach,
TB1 is like more off in front of the garden shaft on that side of that line, and then the one that they appears to have been left in the ground is along this line right here somewhere on the southeast side of the line. So that's why I don't think that's the one that got left in the ground. They end up pulling it, I believe, and moving on. It appears to me anyway. So, all right, folks, thank you very much. That's all I've got for you here tonight. We are going to be covering next week's episode. Channeling the Solution is on next week. We'll cover that. Are you gonna be able to join us for that one, Seth?
Oh yeah. All
right, good deal.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So Tom and I will be here along with Seth. We'll be here next week, and we are hoping that we can get Mr. John Edwards and Mr. Scott Clarke on the show at some point. They have to wait until they're pretty confident that anything that they have presented in the war room this last time is done, that they're not going to show anymore before they're allowed to talk about it. So bear with us on that. As soon as they feel confident that they can talk about everything that's aired, we'll have them on the show and we'll get more to the story on all of that. So hang out. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Click on that notification bell so you know when we got content coming out that we just pop out there with. So until next time, thank you folks for being here with us. We'll catch you next time right here on the Freeman Files and the J Free 906 podcast. Good night, everybody.
Night. Thanks, Jan.